Namaste. Hope you are doing well. Today we'll solve the third question of ISI MSTAT 2023 PSA. And yes, from the very look of this question, it screams set theory. You even have notations associated with set theory given the complement, and this what I like to call the minus operator. So even it looks like that P minus Q. So the way it is P intersection Q complement, which makes sense if you think about it. So this question is giving us four options and we have to identify the incorrect one. And yeah, the prerequisite is only going to be set theory for this. To connect some dots, you should think, can we bring some set theory lemmas that may help us reduce the burden of options in front of us? And yes, we can. If you look at option A, it may remind you of De Morgan's law. And if you look at option D, it may remind you of the distributive law of set theory with perhaps associative law as well. Now, when you do evaluate it further, you'll find that it's exactly De Morgan's law and it's exactly distributive law, perhaps followed by associative law. So these two options A and D are correct because they correspond to standard set theory lemmas. This reduces our burden by 50%. And then we can evaluate B and C. We can start with B because it looks simpler to evaluate than C. Start with LHS and expand it to see if we get RHS. So we have this minus thing which turns into the intersection expansion. We can use De Morgan on this. Then we can use associative property on this because everything is intersection. And then we can again use De Morgan on this. And then we have a set intersection, another set, but the complement of that set. So again, it's the minus structure which we can get. And yeah, the LHS expands completely into RHS. Do notice that the motivation from going one step to the next was to get to a structure as close in resemblance to the RHS as possible. So when you have to deal with similar math, this should be your motivation when you go from one step to next, so that you don't end up in circles and back to the same thing. And that's it. We got the answer. We eliminated A, B, and D. So what remains is C, which may perhaps have been difficult to evaluate on its own, but because we eliminated A and D first and then we evaluated the easier one, apparently easier for me at least, B. So we eliminated A, B, and D and got to C. And some base to build your base is when you get overwhelmed by, because it is possible, you see this question had too many notations, too many unions, intersections, and B1, B2, B3s, and even notation describing the notation. So it's sometimes overwhelming, but with practice, you can look past the overwhelming notations or the magnitude of notations and see what the question is actually saying. It comes with practice. And if you like this, then the request is to stop giving excuses which are not true. Be true to your hustle and to yourself. Take care. Hare Krishna.